Episodes of Palette Swap are suggested by viewers like you. If there's a character you'd like me to analyze, let me know in the comment section down below. Good morrow everyone, Silvershire here, and welcome back to Palette Swap, where I rank the costumes and character designs of your favorite fighting games. And by your favorite fighting games, I mean my favorite fighting games, and by my favorite fighting games, I mean Soulcalibur. Today, we're looking at a character I really should have covered last week for Valentine's Day, Ivy. But before we begin our analysis, here's a quick refresher course on who Ivy is and what we should be looking for in her character designs. Isabella Valentine, better known as Ivy. Get it? Because her initials are I-V, Ivy, was the adopted daughter of a wealthy noble family. Her parents loved her dearly, but this is a fighting game, so you know that didn't last long. Her father was an alchemist who believed the cursed sword Soul Edge was the key to eternal life, and his research slowly drove him insane. He destroyed the Valentine's reputation and then died of unknown causes, followed shortly thereafter by his wife. When Ivy read her father's notes and learned the reason for her family's decline, she vowed to destroy Soul Edge. To this end, she performed a dark alchemical ritual to summon the being known as Nightmare. He enchanted her signature whip sword to have a mind of its own and the power to destroy Soul Edge. In exchange, he asked her to harvest human souls, which is code for kill a bunch of people. She did his bidding for a time, but she eventually made two horrifying revelations. First was that Nightmare was the wielder of Soul Edge, and the souls she had gathered for him only made the cursed sword stronger. Second was that her biological father was Cervantes de Leon, the previous wielder of Soul Edge, who sired her to create a spare vessel for the cursed sword's power. I'm going to spend more time than usual discussing her Soulcalibur I 1P, because all of her future 1Ps are iterations of the same general design, so most of my points will apply to them all. Purple-clad femme fatales are a well-worn fighting game trope, but Ivy manages to stand out from the crowd. Her strappy suit is a perfect fit for her snaking and tangling weapon, which was actually designed before she was. Even the green gem on her hand matches that on the sword's hilt. Her armor is also slightly reminiscent of Nightmare's, not in appearance but in the way it's worn. Both have asymmetrical pauldrons and both have gauntlets only on their left arms. To be honest, I doubt that was intentional, but it works out well. The problem I have with her 1Ps is that they don't communicate much about her character. She doesn't look like a noblewoman or an alchemist. Compare this to Taki, whose outfit is similarly unrealistic but still clearly meant to be a ninja's. Ivy's costumes are more often than not based solely on aesthetics, and there's nothing inherently wrong with that, but it's a missed opportunity for visual storytelling. The designers could have made her look wealthier by incorporating jewelry or luxurious furs, they could have emphasized that she's magical by including a spellbook or alchemical runes, or they could have played up the scientist angle by giving her glasses or scars from experiments gone wrong. All of those together would be overkill and way too cluttered, but including just a few would go a long way towards bringing lore Ivy and game Ivy closer together. I will give props to her color palette though, as it's putting in some serious work. Royal purple, as the name implies, was a status symbol in much of the ancient world, and along with the gold, it definitely gives her some upper class vibes. Purple is also associated with villainy, and more specifically with Cervantes. She even has the same purplish white hair that he does. On top of all that, purple and gold, or purple and yellow rather, are complementary, making this an appealing color scheme regardless of context. For all my criticisms, there's no denying that this is a unique and eye-catching look, and there's a reason Ivy is so iconic. This specific version of her 1P is by far the simplest, but it does include an element that most later versions don't, that being a white glove. As well as adding more variety to her palette, it looks fancy and acts as a small clue towards her noble upbringing. 6 out of 10. Her 2P is inspired by a military officer's uniform. As is the case for most of her alternate costumes, this fits her backstory far better than her default appearance does, because it makes her look wealthy and sophisticated. The cravat and epaulets lend her an air of authority that suits her domineering personality and playstyle. Though she's wearing much more clothing than usual, she maintains a familiar silhouette thanks to her corset and tall boots. This palette too is appropriately regal, and the additions of black and white create eye-catching contrast without overcomplicating the color scheme. It's reminiscent of the colors worn by British soldiers from the late 17th to early 20th centuries. Not surprised that Ivy's 1P became her signature look, but I think that this one is vastly superior. 9 out of 10. Her Soulcalibur II 1P makes some small but impactful adjustments to her previous 1P. Her top is more of a jagged triangular shape, there are sharp claws on the fingers of her gauntlet, and she no longer has a white glove on her right hand. I like some of these changes more than others, but they all have the effect of making her look more intimidating. She also has some sort of sheer fabric covering her midsection, which is an interesting idea, but I prefer it to be incorporated elsewhere to make the design more cohesive. All in all, I wouldn't say this is better or worse than her debut appearance. 6 out of 10. Her 2P, which fans have affectionately dubbed the George Washington costume, is also quite similar to that of the previous game. Aside from the obvious color change, the most significant differences are that her coat is longer and her hair is slicked back. This makes it even more distinct from her 1P and memorable as a result. 10 out of 10. Her 3P is an outfit that I imagine she would wear to a ball or similarly fancy outing. Her leggings feature a rose motif, which, in addition to a long list of symbolic meanings, could be a nod to her heritage, as roses are the national flower of England and a symbol of the Tudors, who ruled England during Ivy's lifetime. Shout out to ABI from Sugar Punch Design Works for that insight. Her color palette is the exact same as her swords, even down to the green gem, so the weapon feels like an extension of herself. Don't find this outfit quite as unique or compelling as the others, but it's pretty, and that's all it's really going for. 7 out of 10. Soulcalibur III makes some bigger alterations to her 1P, the main one being that it's mostly white. This could represent her shift from villain to hero, although she's right back to purple in the next game, so that weakens the metaphor a bit. It's also a lot more detailed, with multicolored stripes running up her legs and torso, twin interlocking rings around her thighs, and the return of a pauldron on her right shoulder. She still has sheer fabric on her midsection like in Soulcalibur II, but I think it works better here, both because it's been extended to cover part of her chest, and because it adds some darker brown to the otherwise light palette. 8 out of 10. Her 2P is equal parts elegant and sinister. Like her previous 2Ps, it does a great job of communicating her noble background, albeit in a very different way. The rose motif from her Soulcalibur II 3P is back, and along with her spiky armor, it calls to mind a rose with thorns, something beautiful yet dangerous. The veil and the dark, desaturated palette give her a sorrowful aura, as if she's in mourning, which she probably is given all the trauma she's gone through. She's also kinda gothy, which is always a plus in my book. This is an excellent design, and I'm disappointed that a similar concept wasn't revisited in later games. 9 out of 10. Her Soulcalibur IV 1P is an experiment to see exactly how little you can wear in a T-rated game. Ivy's costumes have always been risque, but this pushes it to a distracting extreme. It's clear that fanservice took precedence over just about every other aspect of the design. That said, there are some interesting things going on here. Her suit has a snakeskin pattern, tying into the serpentine nature of her weapon, and there's a rose on her collar, finally bringing that recurring motif into a 1P. I would like it to be more prominent, though. As for the rest of the outfit, it's a chaotic mess. There are diagonal strings and straps all over the place that don't seem to have been put together with any rhyme or reason. I know this is going to be an unpopular opinion, but I can't give it higher than a 4 out of 10. Her 2P is her only costume that leans into her magical side. The bell sleeves, chunky belt, turnover boots, and repeated patterns evoke the image of a wizard from a classic high fantasy setting. Her hair is different as well. It's close to her usual style, but a bit more bouffant, which looks nice. This outfit could do with some more color, but it's still a 6 out of 10. In my opinion, her Soulcalibur V 1P is her best, because she actually kinda looks like a noble. She has a high collar, white cuffs and lapels, long coattails, and lots of frilly lace with a rose pattern, all without detracting from the iconic traits of her purple suit. Even though she stopped physically aging for vague magic reasons, you get a sense that she's matured over the 17 years between this game and the last. She's more concerned now with being a scholar and a scientist than a world-traveling warrior. She also has an awesome new snake and skull pauldron. This is very macabre imagery that would have made more sense back when she was evil, but it's too cool for me to really care. 9 out of 10. Her 2P was designed by guest artist Mari Shimazaki. You can absolutely tell because it has Bayonetta written all over it. Unlike her other 2Ps, it doesn't look noble per se, but it certainly looks expensive and extravagant. Earlier in the video, I said that jewelry or luxurious furs could be used to make her seem wealthy, and this costume has both in spades. The combination of fur and scales is a weird choice, but the costume would be less interesting if either of those were removed, so I guess it was a good call. Like her Soulcalibur IV 1P, it's extremely revealing, but it doesn't feel like that was prioritized at the expense of anything else. It's unique and stylish. 7 out of 10. Soulcalibur VI is a reboot of the series, and Ivy's costume is essentially just a more detailed version of her original 1P. The most major addition is a skull pauldron similar to that of the previous game, which is enough to earn it a bonus point. 7 out of 10. Soulcalibur VI doesn't have any alternate costumes, but it does have alternate colors. Her color 2 is red and gold. This is her most varied though, as the others are mostly monochromatic, and you know I'm partial to red. 8 out of 10. Her color 3 is white and gives her red hair. This is a neat idea, but the suit looks too plain without any color. 6 out of 10. Lastly, her color 4 is light blue and gives her blonde hair. This one has the opposite problem, as the blue and yellow are both really vibrant and sorta clash with each other. Also a 6 out of 10. And with that, we have ranked every single Ivy costume. Her design is sort of a victim of its own success, because her purple suit is so recognizable and so beloved by fans that she's pretty much stuck with it, even if something else would be a better fit for her character. But that's just my opinion, so what do you think? Let me know in the comment section down below if you agree or disagree with any of my rankings. Also, let me know which character you'd like to see next. For episode 18, we'll finally be discussing Heihachi from Tekken, as requested by D-Town Nash. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching, I hope you enjoyed, and until next time, I bid thee farewell.